What this drone captured in the middle of the ocean will give you nightmares. In 2023, the Pentagon declassified and officially released a video that is as baffling as it is chilling. The footage, captured by a U.S. military drone on a surveillance mission, shows a small metallic spherical object hovering silently over the ocean. Suddenly, with impossible speed and precision, the object dives directly into the water, disappearing beneath the surface without a splash. The official statement from the Department of Defense was simple and profound. They did not know what it was. This single, authenticated piece of footage is just one clue in a much larger and more complex mystery, a story of highly decorated Navy pilots, some of the most advanced warships on Earth, and a series of encounters with unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, that have defied all logical explanation and have forced the world's most powerful government to finally admit that there is something in our skies and our oceans that we do not understand. To understand the significance of this recently declassified footage, we must first go back to the dawn of the modern UFO era. The story begins not with military drones, but with the naked eye. In 1947, a private pilot named Kenneth Arnold was flying his small plane near Mount Rainier in Washington state when he witnessed 9 crescent-shaped objects flying in formation at a speed he calculated to be over 1,000 miles per hour, far faster than any known aircraft of the time. He described their movement as being like a saucer if you skip it across the water. The press seized on that description, and the term flying saucer was born, igniting a global phenomenon. What followed was a wave of sightings across the United States. This culminated in the now legendary Roswell incident of July 1947, where the military first announced they had recovered a flying disc from a ranch in New Mexico, only to retract the statement a day later, claiming it was just a conventional weather balloon. This single event, this official contradiction, planted a deep seed of public mistrust and became the cornerstone of modern UFO conspiracy theories. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, during the height of the Cold War, the U.S. Air Force was tasked with officially investigating the thousands of UFO reports pouring in from the public and the military. Their public investigation was called Project Blue Book. For over 20 years, they investigated more than 12,000 sightings. In the end, the project was officially terminated in 1969, with the government's official conclusion stating that there was no evidence of a technological threat to national security and no evidence of extraterrestrial vehicles. For decades, this was the official stand. The subject of UFOs was relegated to the fringes, a topic for tabloid newspapers and science fiction, while the government maintained a policy of official denial and ridicule. But, behind the scenes, something else was happening. Highly credible witnesses, pilots, radar operators, and military personnel continued to have encounters with objects that defied conventional explanation. And in the 21st century, with the advent of new, highly advanced sensor technology, the evidence would become impossible to ignore. Our story now jumps to November of 2004. The USS Nimitz carrier strike group, one of the most powerful and technologically advanced naval forces on the planet, is conducting routine training exercises in a restricted military airspace off the coast of San Diego, California. The strike group is protected by the USS Princeton, an Aegis-class cruiser equipped with the world's most sophisticated radar system, the SPY-1. For several days, the senior radar operators on the Princeton began detecting strange, anomalous radar tracks. The objects would appear suddenly on their screens at an altitude of 80,000 feet, far above normal air traffic, and then would plummet down to just above the ocean's surface in a matter of seconds, an impossible rate of descent. They would then hover before accelerating away at speeds that were off the charts. The radar operators had never seen anything like it. The objects had no transponders, moved with no discernible flight surfaces or means of propulsion, and performed maneuvers that were considered physically impossible. After several days of tracking these mysterious objects, the command was given to investigate. On November 14, 2004, two of the Navy's top pilots, Commander David Fravor, the commanding officer of the elite Black Aces Squadron, and his wingman, Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate, were launched from the deck of the USS Nimitz in their FA-18 Super Hornets on a routine training mission. While they were airborne, they were contacted by the operations officer on the USS Princeton. They were told to scrap their training mission. They had a real-world task. They were to be vectored to the last known coordinates of one of these anomalous aerial vehicles to attempt a visual identification. As they approached the location, they could see nothing on their own radar. But when Fravor looked down at the ocean, which was calm and bright blue, he saw a disturbance on the surface. It was a patch of white, churning water, as if a large, invisible object was submerged just beneath. And then he saw it. Hovering erratically, about 50 feet above the churning water, was a smooth, white, oblong object. It had no wings, no engines, no exhaust plumes, and no visible means of propulsion. It looked, in Fravor's now famous description, exactly like a giant 40-foot-long white Tic Tac. Fravor, a decorated combat veteran with thousands of flight hours, began a slow, circular descent to get a closer look. As he did, the Tic Tac object seemed to react. It mirrored his movement, ascending to meet him, but maintaining its distance. Fravor decided to cut across the circle, to meet it in the middle. The moment he committed to this maneuver, the object performed an act of acceleration that still haunts him to this day. It did not bank or turn. It simply vanished. In the blink of an eye, it accelerated from a dead hover to a speed of thousands of miles per hour and was gone. There was no sonic boom, no exhaust trail, just an instantaneous disappearance. The two pilots, stunned and speechless, circled the empty sky. A few moments later, the operator on the USS Princeton radioed them with even more shocking news. The object, which had just vanished from in front of Fravor's eyes, had reappeared on their radar, 60 miles away, in less than a minute. They had just witnessed a vehicle that was operating with the technology that was, and still is, decades, if not centuries, beyond our own. When Commander Fravor and his wingman returned to the USS Nimitz, they were buzzing with a mixture of adrenaline, excitement, and utter disbelief. They were debriefed by their intelligence officers, recounting every detail of the encounter. The story spread like wildfire through the ship's crew. Shortly after Fravor's encounter, another FA-18 was launched, this one equipped with an advanced infrared targeting pod, the ATFLIR. This pilot also managed to find and record the object. His footage, which would later be declassified and codenamed Fleron, is a ghostly black and white infrared video showing a small, pill-shaped object hovering over the ocean before accelerating to the left at a speed that defies imagination. At the time, the radar tapes and the infrared footage were collected, the pilots were told to drop the subject, and the entire incident was quietly buried, becoming a piece of secret naval lore, a sea story that was not to be discussed with the outside world. For over a decade, the story of the Nimitz Tic Tac remained a secret. But the encounters did not stop. The story now jumps forward to the years 2014 and 2015. This time, the location was the east coast of the United States, in a military warning area off the coast of Virginia. The pilots were from the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group, and what they experienced was, in some ways, even more unsettling than the Nimitz encounter. They began to encounter these strange objects not just once, but almost daily, for several months. Pilots like Lieutenant Ryan Graves, who has since gone public with his story, reported seeing objects that could fly at hypersonic speeds, stop on a dime, and remain stationary even in hurricane-force winds, all with no visible means of propulsion. It was during these encounters that two more of the now famous declassified videos were captured. The first, nicknamed GIMBAL, shows a saucer-shaped object rotating against the wind. On the audio, you can hear the pilot's baffled reaction. "Look at that thing," one exclaims. "It's rotating." The second video, nicknamed Go Fast, shows a small, fast-moving object skimming just above the surface of the ocean, its speed so great that the pilots are audibly shocked. This series of encounters was so persistent and so strange that an official safety report was filed, warning that the pilots were encountering unknown and dangerously advanced aerial phenomena. This brings us to the specific footage your provided script mentioned, which was captured later. In 2019, a U.S. Navy warship recorded another object. This time, it was a perfectly spherical object, seen on an infrared camera, flying over the ocean before suddenly, and without any change in speed, diving directly into the water and disappearing. It did not crash. It transitioned seamlessly from air to water. This was an example of what investigators now call a transmedium vehicle, a craft capable of operating in both the air and the sea with equal ease. The evidence was now overwhelming, captured by multiple pilots and multiple state-of-the-art sensor systems over a period of 15 years. The secret could not be held forever. The bombshell finally dropped on December 16, 2017. The New York Times published a front-page story that would change the world. The article, written by a team of respected investigative journalists, revealed the existence of a secret 5-year, $22 million Pentagon program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP, a program that was created to investigate exactly these kinds of military encounters with UAPs. And alongside their story, for the first time, they published the 3 authenticated declassified Navy videos, Fleerone, GIMBAL, and Go Fast. The story was no longer a fringe conspiracy theory. It was now a real, documented investigation, confirmed by the most respected newspaper in the world, with decorated Navy pilots like Commander Fravor going on the record to describe their incredible experiences. The public and political reaction was immense. In the years that followed, and particularly after 2020, the old wall of government secrecy began to crumble. In 2020, the Pentagon officially declassified the 3 videos. They then announced the formation of a new UAP task force to improve its understanding of and gain insight into the nature and origins of UAPs. This culminated in a historic moment in June of 2021, when the Director of National Intelligence delivered a preliminary unclassified report on UAPs directly to the United States Congress. While the report did not confirm extraterrestrial life, it did confirm that of the 144 military encounters it studied, 143 could not be explained by any known technology. It officially stated that UAPs were real, they were a potential threat to flight safety, and they were a mystery. This led to the first public congressional hearing on UFOs in over 50 years, held in May of 2022. High-ranking intelligence officials testified before Congress, acknowledging the reality of the phenomena and the government's commitment to investigating it. The era of denial was over. The era of disclosure had begun. The drone footage of the object diving into the ocean and the pilot videos that came before it are not the final answer to this profound mystery. They are the beginning of a new, more serious, and more transparent chapter in humanity's long and often strange relationship with the unknown. They are authenticated, undeniable pieces of a puzzle that is still being assembled, a puzzle that challenges our understanding of physics, technology, and our place in the universe.